What's up, everyone? My name is Brian Drolet, and I'm your host for the Let's Talk Movies podcast, a podcast where we talk movies. Now, you might be saying, who's this guy? Why should I listen to him talk about movies? Well, turns out I'm an actor, comedian, and filmmaker. That's right. I've made 3 feature films, and I'm currently working on my 4th movie. Now, if you're listening or watching and wondering, man, I want to make a movie, how do I do it? Well, that's what the Let's Talk Movies podcast is about. We're going to talk about how to make movies, what movies are coming out that we're excited about, what are the best movies that are currently available to watch or stream. I'm super passionate about storytelling and filmmaking and have been since I was a little kid. So I figured since this is episode 1 of the Let's Talk Movies podcast, I would tell you guys a little bit about myself. My name is Brian Drolet. I grew up in Queens, New York, and I loved movies ever since I was a little kid. Growing up in a house with a mother who was battling an illness, movies was an escape from the harsh realities that we all face every day. We all go through stresses and dramas at home, and sometimes it's fun to escape to other people's dramas. And that's what I always loved about movies, especially comedies. When I saw the movie Ace Ventura when I was a little kid, I said, that's what I want to do with my life, and that's what I did. Alrighty then. Let's keep it moving here at the Let's Talk Movies podcast, presented by Up On Game. Guys, make sure you subscribe, follow us on Instagram, subscribe to the YouTube page, youtube.com/@UpOnGameNetwork. I want to say thank you to everybody at Up On Game for giving me this platform as well. But as I said, I grew up, and growing up in a household with a sick mother, when Ace Ventura came out, as a little kid, I was impersonating Ace Ventura, and we were just laughing as a family to this movie, and it just provided an escape. And I said, that's what I want to do with my life. So when I graduated college, I got into the entertainment business, believe it or not, by putting a videotape together of myself doing characters and impersonations. I called it Brian Drolet Crazy Randomness. You can find it on YouTube. But I walked around Manhattan giving this tape out, and some people laughed me out of the building and said, "This is very unprofessional. You shouldn't do this." But then other people called me up and they were like, "Hey, we love what you're doing here." And I got cast on a television show on MTV called Damage Control. I was also on MTV's The Hills, which will be available on Netflix December 15th. Be sure to check out season 1. So I got involved in the entertainment business, and I said, man, I really want to make my own movie, though. And I wrote my own script. Just to be totally transparent, not bring down the mood, but when my mother passed, she died from a disease called scleroderma, by the way, and it attacks your autoimmune system. But I'll never forget on the plane ride back from her funeral, life feels short, it feels precious. I said, you know what? I don't know how to make a movie, but I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to do it. And I wrote a script. It was called Two Dudes in a Dream, and it was about 2 guys that move out to Hollywood to pursue their dreams. And we raised $117,000 just from, honestly, sheer will. And we made this movie, and we didn't know what we were doing at the time. It's not the greatest movie ever, but I think it's pretty good for people that, didn't know how to make a movie. And, we got a lot of great actors in the movie. We got Jason Mewes, Andy Milonakis, Simon Rex, who just got a standing ovation at the Cannes Film Festival for Sean Baker's movie Red Rocket. Simon was awesome in that. Make sure you go check that movie out, Red Rocket, if you haven't seen it yet. But so we made this movie, and actually I was so excited after we got it. We got a distribution deal. It got distributed digitally by Warner Brothers, and I got a tattoo to celebrate the victory. Alrighty then. That's what my tattoo says, alrighty then. I don't know if you guys can see that. But yeah, I got alrighty then, which means go for your dreams. If you believe it, you can do it. And that's really my favorite thing about movies. I like movies with happy endings and positive messages. One of my favorite movies ever is The Pursuit of Happyness with Will Smith. Just an all-time classic. That scene when he gets the job, the tear comes down his face. I mean, that makes me cry every time. And then he's walking through the crowd and he's like, and you're just like, yes, you know? And the scene where he's in the bathroom with his son and people are trying to get in and, you know, he's got his foot at the door and it's just your heart breaks. And I just love movies and I love storytelling. And so, yeah, Two Dudes in a Dream is currently available on Amazon. You guys got to check that out. And that movie, again, was really possible by just sheer will, people coming together. After that movie, I wrote another script with a buddy of mine called Dumbbells Special Edition. Dumbbells Special Edition. And that actually just came out on Amazon as well. And it was a comedy that took place in a gym about a fallen basketball star that is down and out. Basketball dreams didn't come true. And now he finds himself working in a gym as a trainer, making like minimum wage, hating his life. And a new owner comes in, buys the gym, and wants to turn it into a reality show. You know, mayhem ensues, and really that movie is about second chances and never giving up. Never giving up is a theme I've put into many projects because I love an underdog and I love a person's spirit that just won't quit. The movie originally came out in 2014, but to be honest with you, I was never super happy with the way the movie came out. And years later, knowing much more, I said, I feel like there's a better movie in there. And I re-edited the movie from scratch, dusted off the hard drives, and just started chipping away at it to create a story with a more focused through line, I would say. And, you know, one of the things I learned about making movies, you know, being somebody who loves comedy, too often a young comedic writer will focus just on the funny, when actually you really want to focus on the emotional story. So with every movie, there should be a commercial hook, but then an emotional through line. So if the commercial hook is, you know, let's take Wedding Crashers, right? The commercial hook is these guys are crashing weddings and they're, you know, just all about getting laid and it's very superficial. And that's the commercial hook is like dumb, immature men crashing weddings. But the emotional through line is learning that that's lame and evolving as a man and knowing it's not cool to just lie and try to sleep with women and crash weddings. And so the emotional story is really a friendship story, but really a self-reflection story. And those two guys evolve, and by the end of the movie, they're both in committed, serious relationships. And so, you know, every movie should have some sort of moral message and emotional through line, and then a great commercial hook. Another Vince Vaughn movie that I love, Dodgeball. Commercial hook there. A struggling gym is trying to save a gym through a dodgeball competition. But the through line is, you know, Vince Vaughn, again, he needs to mature. I mean, so many movies are the same. It's all about people becoming a better version of themselves and learning a lesson. You know, just to keep it in the Vince Vaughn wheelhouse, I love Swingers, directed by Doug Liman. One of my all-time favorites. Jon Favreau is one of my favorite filmmakers, even though I know he didn't direct it. I'm sure he was all over it, and he went on to become one of the best directors in the industry, creating Iron Man, launching the Marvel Universe. But Jon Favreau, just a great filmmaker. And, you know, Swingers was an inspiration because it was an independent movie that ended up getting sold for millions of dollars. And so I just have always wanted to make movies like that. One of my other favorite movies of all time is Rudy. I absolutely love Rudy. It's one of my favorite stories about the football player or a student that it was a big deal just that he got into Notre Dame, and it's based on a true story, and then he walks onto the team and he makes it, and he's playing with these elite football players, and, you know, Rock has one of the best, not the Rock of our day, the Rock of old. Well, Rock was a character he played on television, but he's like, you're 5'0", you're 100 and you've hung in there with some of the best college students there is. You know, if you can't see that you're a winner, you know, there's no hope for you, kid. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but just an amazing movie. He finally gets in the game by the end of the movie, and he like sacks the quarterback or something. Everybody just starts chanting, Rudy, Rudy, Rudy. And ironically, theme here, that's the movie that Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau met on So when Jon Favreau wrote Swingers, he was like, oh, the quarterback from the Rudy movie would be perfect. And so that's, how their relationship started. For Christmas time, another movie that Vince Vaughn and, all right, the theme of this episode is Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau. But that's where all my influences come from. And, movies, we're all influenced by movies, you know what I mean? So everything you see, that filmmaker had films that they were a fan of and that they were influenced by. So, one of my favorite books is called Steal Like an Artist. And the whole idea of art is the art you're creating is influenced from art you've seen, but the best artists take from things they're inspired by, but you don't know it. You don't want to watch something and be like, oh, he's just copying so-and-so. But if something's inspired from it, but then different enough, that's kind of the goal, to create your own, spin on what you're doing. A film that I directed with a buddy of mine that I'm very proud of, the third movie I ever made, is called Be Like Trees. Be Like Trees is a feature film that we shot with no budget, no crew, just an iPhone. That's right. Be Like Trees had no crew, it had no lighting, it didn't have anything. It just had me, two of my buddies, and an iPhone. And the question was, could we make a movie for free? Could we make something with just an iPhone and people wouldn't even know? They would have no clue that we were making a movie, because if you see me shooting out in public with just an iPhone, people don't assume you're making a feature film. They're just like, oh, this guy's just got an iPhone, no big deal. But little did they know, we were shooting a movie. So we shot Be Like Trees for about 6 to 8 months, here and there. All my actor friends, comedian friends. I also do stand-up comedy, guys.
We have way too much power with our thumbs nowadays, right? I think we're gonna have huge thumbs in the future. I think we've got it wrong with aliens. They don't have big heads. They're just giant thumbs with eyeballs. That's what we're gonna evolve to. Just gonna be walking around like, subscribe. That girl's hot, swipe.
I love this bit. So Be Like Trees, I wanted to, before I started doing stand-up comedy, I had crippling anxiety and fear about doing it. I was terrified to get up on stage and do it. But I said, you know what? I got to get over this fear. I respect comedians so much. I want to do it. And I just kept going to open mics. And finally, the people that weren't even doing good and weren't funny, I was like, I have more respect for them because they're trying than I do for myself. And in 2016, I think I had a goal, and that was to do stand-up comedy every single night. Yes, every single night. And I did. And I got over that fear. And I wanted to make a movie about getting over that fear and the artistic plight and just what artists have to do to get their art out there and the struggles that come with that. And so we started filming Be Like Trees. I made it with my friends Chris Livingston and Jordan Eubanks. We filmed this movie again with just an iPhone. I edited it together and we uploaded it to YouTube. We wanted to give it away for free and just put it out there and be able to interact with people online in the comment section and hear what you had to think. It did really well. It got over like 22,000 views in just a few months. We were featured on KTLA 5. The movie shines a light on what my mother went through, which I mentioned earlier. And it's really just about Be Like Trees is a metaphor for never giving up. No matter what you try to put on top of a tree will go up and around or through. It'll go through cement. It'll wind around bricks. Trees find a way. They're going for the light and they're planted firmly in the ground. And so that's kind of what that movie's about. There's even a musical in it with a singing squirrel. So I suggest you check it out. Available now on YouTube. Check out Be Like Trees, guys. And again, that was a movie we did for nothing. And so, a lot of times people think, how could you ever make a movie? A movie is such a big, grand undertaking, but it's possible. Just chip away at it one day, 1 week at a time. Even if you filmed one scene every month, in a couple of years, you'll have a whole movie if you just did that every other month even. It adds up. So if you want to make a movie, if you want to tell a story, you can do it, trust me. You can do it, trust me. You can do it, trust me. Make your movie. Now you're saying, Brian, I don't know how to write a script. How do I write a script? The best book that you can read on how to make a movie, how to write a movie, is called Save the Cat. A great script is like a great math equation, okay? It's just 1 + 2 = 3. So to make a good movie, the reason the book's called Save the Cat is because if a character at the beginning of a movie saves a cat out of a tree, you like that guy. You like that guy, right? I mean, this is a guy that I want to root for, or a girl. Whoever's saving the cat out of the tree, you root for them. So you always want to start a movie with your main character doing something where you're like, I can get behind this person. I like that they saved the cat. So you know what? Even though they cheated on their taxes in the next scene, they did save that cat though, so let me stay with them, because all characters should be flawed at the beginning of any movie. So for instance, Wedding Crashers, they're crashing all these weddings, but if the character saved the cat, I'm like, all right, well, I know they're not a bad person, but they're flawed just like me, so I can relate to them. So every good movie, you want to make the character relatable. Save the Cat will give you that formula. It'll tell you, it's called the Blake Schneider beats sheet. There's like 25 beats or 26 beats, I forget, but it's like the first beat of any good movie is your opening image. Your opening image should contrast your closing image. I'll go into this more in depth on another episode, but the point is if you want to make a movie and write a movie, the information is out there. There's another great book called Story. I'm forgetting who. There's so many great books out there on screenwriting. Save the Cat's just one of them. But so if you want to write a movie, you gotta either A, find a great script, or you gotta write your own. If you're saying I'm not a writer, you can do it. Trust me, I've known people that aren't writers. You just have to sit down and write it. And you know what? If you can't write it or you don't want to, there's a lot of producers I know that don't write, but then they gotta go find people that do write. So if you want to produce a movie, but you're like, I can't really write, and I don't really want to direct, but I want to kind of put it all together, then you're a producer. You're somebody that hires the people that can write it or can direct it. In my case, and in like, you know, a Quentin Tarantino or a Ben Affleck or Jon Favreau, I love to write it. I love to produce it. I love to direct it. I love to act in it. I love to edit it. I'm what you call an art whore. I just love every medium. I have one of my other tattoos is make good art. Make good art, and that's actually from Be Like Trees. That's one of the lessons there. But you know, whatever life is throwing at you, no matter how crazy life gets, you know, my through line, the thing that keeps me kind of going through life is just make good art. You know, I'm not waiting for somebody to fund me or to approve of what I can or can't do. I just want to make good art. I want to make good art. I want to make good art. I want to. Oh, you were right. I want to make good art. So if you want to make good art, get a camera. People, that's the other thing. You don't need the most expensive camera. You don't need a crew and all this equipment. All you need is an iPhone. Start filming things and then learn how to edit. Editing is not that hard. You just got to cut out the stuff you don't want and leave the stuff you do want, right? So if I mess up and I'm like, I just cut that out, right? So now it's going to look perfect, right? So if I mess up, no problem. There was no cough. I cut it out. See that? Little movie magic for you. But so my point is, if you like movies and you want to make movies, you can do it. Like Rob Schneider said, and was it Waterboy? You can do it! Or was it Big Daddy? You can do it! I'll come down there and give you a haircut. Let's see your clippers. It's not my fault. Your father was sick. Stop shouting at me! Anybody? Big Daddy, Big Daddy? All right. Great movie, great movie. You still owe me an Egg McMuffin. On Let's Talk Movies, we're going to quote movies a lot. We're going to be silly because I'm a silly guy. Like I said, I'm a comedian. But I really want to welcome you guys to this podcast. I really wanted this first episode to be about just getting to know me, your host, and kind of my movie history. Right now, I'm currently directing a film that I wrote called Friend-in-Law, and it's a comedy about a married couple whose marriage is on the rocks, and the best friend of the groom, he's got to move in at the worst time, right after they realize they're going to get a divorce. And it also turns out he's in debt with the mob, who shows up at the front door of the house and tells them that if they don't pay the debt by the end of the week, everybody's getting murdered. That's right. Everybody. So there's another big twist in the movie, but it's a fun comedy with the stakes of life and death. That's the other good thing. In every good movie, the higher the stakes, the more we're on the edge of our seat. And honestly, the higher the stakes with comedy, sometimes the funnier it is, because things are more important. So if you mess up, it's a matter of our lives here. So there can be a lot of fertile ground and soil, if you will, for comedy and humorous happenings. Humorous happenings. That sounds like a bar, you know? Let's go to humorous happenings tonight. You guys want to go to humorous No, okay, maybe not, I don't know. But yeah, so I'm making this movie right now. It's another movie I'm making with my friends. We don't have a lot of money, but we did invest this time in a good camera. I saved up, I had a piggy bank, I put a lot of quarters in it, and then I said, hey, we got to get a good camera and some lights and do this right. So we've got about 30 minutes of the movie shot. So I hope if you've listened to this podcast, maybe you're inspired to go get a camera and start shooting. Maybe you'll start reading Read the Cat. Like I said, editing programs are not hard to learn these days. Just go on YouTube, watch a tutorial. I completely retaught myself Adobe Premiere. I had learned it back in college, but you forget over the years, and the programs change. The point is it's very user-friendly. You guys can do it. You can do it at home. YouTube tutorials, learn the editing software, learn the basic minimum, just learn 5 basic things. Attempt to write a script. Just give it a shot. What do you have to lose? At Let's Talk Movies podcast, we encourage you to make your movie and become the filmmaker that you've always dreamt of. So now let's talk a little bit about what's out and what's upcoming. I just saw Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I loved it. It's a sequel. Normally sequels, you never know. It could be good, could be bad. This was really good. It's Marvel after all. Marvel rarely misses, although I didn't love Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. Didn't hate it, didn't love it. But Wakanda Forever, man, the women in this movie, they're so badass. As you can see, just visually a beautiful movie and has a lot to offer. Love the soundtrack. The music goes really great with the editing. Emotionally soaked in the still mourning of Chadwick Boseman, who sadly passed from cancer. So RIP to him. And Marvel did a beautiful job of honoring him and what he stood for, and really transitioning this film into the female protagonist. And I really love the villain Namor, an underwater creature and comes from an underwater culture. And the villain was, they always say the best villain is their motivation is really strong, and it's very similar to the protagonist. So the more, as a viewer, that you can empathize with the antagonist, the better, because that's the conflict, right? As like in the movie, as you'll watch it, you'll see that you could almost understand both sides, which if you have 2 friends and they're both in conflict with each other, you're like, man, I don't know, whose side I'm on. Am I on Jennifer's side, or am I on, Bill's side? Jennifer's got some good points. Bill's got some great points. Jennifer, she's got a strong argument for her case, but, Bill's making a lot of sense too. I don't know. You guys, that's a great movie right there. I got to watch this. I got to see. Is it Jen or is it Bill? I don't know who Jen and Bill is, but you get what I'm saying. So that's why, the worst movies, and DC falls into this trap a lot, is when the villain is just like a cartoon character, and it's like, oh, they just want to destroy the world because they're the villain and that's what they should want to do. That's not good enough. We need to understand, why do they want to destroy the world? And if we can actually understand why, because, as my acting coach would always say, even the serial killer thinks they're right? Meaning a serial killer doesn't think they're evil and doing bad, unless you're Jeffrey Dahmer and you're like, yeah, I'm evil and bad. Okay, Jeffrey, just put the liver away, stop eating it. Can we get him in jail? This apartment reeks. I tried to watch episode 1 of that, by the way. Too disturbing. Needed to move on. Needed to get back to my pursuit of happiness and Rudy movies. But the point is if you, like Thanos, right? Thanos, when he was just trying to wipe out half the galaxy, he thought it was overpopulated. He needed to do that. You know, it's like I have to do this to save the other half. That's what he believed. He was like ready to kill his own green daughter, and but you know he was conflicted with that burden. The villain has to believe what they're doing is correct, and that's going to set up a great conflict. And Black Panther Wakanda did that. And I also love the CGI of the underwater characters. It kind of looked like Avatar. Avatar meets Black Panther. If Avatar was, you know, the villain. Which, by the way, Avatar 2, The Way of Water, comes out this December as well. And it actually has to be the third or fourth highest grossing movie of all time, just to break even. Think about that. Just to break even on the amount of money they spent to make this thing, it's got to become the third or fourth highest grossing movie of all time, which is absolutely insane. But I can't wait to see it. James Cameron, great filmmaker. The 3D in the original Avatar was some of the best. So we got Avatar 2 upcoming. We've got Black Panther, Wakanda Forever out now. Go check that out. We've also got Steven Spielberg's The Fabelmans, which has like a 90-something%, no surprise there, which is Steven Spielberg's story. Another movie that's out right now on streaming that you guys can check out, and I highly recommend it. It's a really fun, it's like a horror, dark comedy. It's called Barbarian. Really great movie. Justin Long's in it. He's really funny in it. It's kind of a bizarre movie. It's got some twists and turns that I certainly didn't see coming. But just really a fun movie. Keeps you on the edge of your seat. Go see The Barbarian if you haven't, or go see Barbarian if you haven't seen it already. And you know, go check out Black Panther 2. Get ready for Avatar. It's Christmas season. My personal favorite Christmas movie ever is National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I also love The Grinch. You guys got to let me know, what is your favorite Christmas movie of all time? What are you guys excited about watching? I don't want to keep you too long. I'm going to try to keep this podcast to around 30, 40 minutes. Since I mentioned The Grinch, since it's Christmas, I do a Grinch impersonation. I figure I might as well do it for y'all. So here is my impression of the Grinch who stole Christmas. This is from the Jim Carrey version. Of course, the guy who grew up loving Ace Ventura is going to do the Jim Carrey version, okay? So here we go.
The nerve of those who's inviting me down there. And on such short notice, even if I wanted to go, my schedule wouldn't allow it. 4 o'clock, wallow in self-pity. 4:30, stare into the abyss. 5 o'clock, solve world hunger, tell no one. 6:30, jazzercise. 7:30, dinner with me. I can't cancel that again. 8 o'clock, wrestle with my self-loathing. I'm booked. Of course, if I moved the loathing till 9, that would still give me time to lie in bed, stare at the ceiling, and slip slowly into madness. But what would I wear?
All right, guys, that's my Grinch. Merry Christmas, Happy Thanksgiving, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Feliz Navidad. Thanks for watching Let's Talk Movies podcast. I'm your host, Brian Drolet, up on Game Network. Make sure you subscribe. Pesomatic, shout out to our sponsor. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you next episode.